What's up, my two-piece podcast followers? Welcome to the show. We are on our journey to another wonderful episode. Thanks for joining. Actually, as you can see, different location. As you can see, I have somebody here with me. We're going to pull back another layer of two-piece, myself, and just what you need to know. We're going to talk some legal things. We're going to talk about how to be prepared for different things and just life situations. So, welcome to the show. The annoying sister of mine, Latanya Dilligard Edwards McDuffie. She is an attorney who has her own law firm, but I'll let her get into all of that.
I can
introduce herself. So what?
I can introduce myself.
I can. So what? But I just want to be formal.
Go ahead.
But you gotta go. So go ahead.
Okay,
You can get on my nerves.
So I'm gonna thank my sister Kara for allowing me to be present on her podcast today. One of the things that she's wanting me to discuss and that I have a passion for discussing is making sure you have your affairs in order so that when you transition, your family will have a roadmap for what it is that you need to do. So one of the major things you need to have in place is a will.
Wait,
now I don't know what she wants to.
Before you start going into all of that,
I'll let her go ahead and do whatever else about other introductions.
Ma'am.
Yes, go ahead.
Come on.
Go ahead.
Introduce who you are.
I'm Latanya.
Where you from? What you been doing?
Okay, good. Okay,
blah
so
blah. If they want to follow you on social media.
All right, I got
blah blah. Come on, get with it.
Okay, so let me rewind. I'm Latanya Dilligard Edwards. I'm an attorney licensed to practice in North Carolina, South Carolina, and before the United States Supreme Court. I might not ever be able to get there, but I'm licensed to practice before that. I have my own law practice in Columbia, South Carolina. I've been practicing law for...
What's the name?
The law firm is Dilligard Edwards, LLC in Columbia, South Carolina.
Word.
I have been practicing law since 1996, but I only opened my practice about 10 years ago. And it's probably been one of the best decisions that I've made. So I do a variety of things in my practice. Wills and probate matters are a couple of the things that I do. I also do some other things too. You can look me up on Facebook, Dilligard Edwards LLC. You can friend me on Facebook, Latanya Dilligard Edwards. I am on Instagram, Dilligard Edwards. I think I'm on Twitter, but don't ask me what my Twitter handle is.
Twitter about to be closed.
Right, Twitter's about to.
Elon Musk done say
Twitter's about to close down anyway.
Get with the
so
plan.
I have Twitter. I can't remember what my Twitter handle is, so don't even worry about it.
Yeah.
And so. Again, some of the things I'm really passionate about, and making sure you make adequate preparations for what happens when you transition is one of those things. So I'm going to pass it back over to my sister in case she has some questions, because I understand I'm just supposed to be myself and not be scripted. So I'm going to go ahead and
really, you just
be myself. This has been my first time appearing on the podcast.
This is what I'm talking about.
So if she wants to ask me some questions, I'll be glad to answer them for you. I can just, I can go into, I do these presentations regularly. For churches, colleges, universities, healthcare groups, all kinds of groups. So I do these presentations a lot, and so I can, talk about all of the things I do talk about during the presentation. But I want Kara to be able to ask me some questions, some
it's not even
guided questions, or
it's not even questions. We just having a conversation.
Okay.
For example, we gonna peel some layers back of our not too personal lives, but personal lives. Like, for example, our daddy died in 2013.
Right.
December 2013. He didn't have an updated will.
I don't know.
No, he didn't. The only will he had that he said, and Mama said, was that the will just had him and her in there. Didn't have us in there. Didn't have any assets in there or anything like that. So let's talk about that. Getting your affairs in order.
Okay, so let me back up. Let me rewind again. So that same year, my first husband died. So he had a will, probably because he was married to me, and that's what I do. But one of the things you need to be prepared for is having a roadmap. Don't leave it up to your family to decide what happens to your things, because trust me, somebody's gonna argue over a plate that's been in somebody's china closet for 40 years, so they can get it and put it in their china closet for 40 years. And so you want to make sure that you leave your assets to the people who are best able to handle those. So a will is something you should have. And some people say, hey, I don't have a will because for a variety of reasons. Some people say, hey, I have a lot of time. Well, you don't know how much time you have. Mm-hmm. My first husband died at 43. He didn't know he was going to die at 43. You don't have a will because you think it's too expensive. It's actually not as expensive as you think. And the amount, what you can do is drop off, stop having, people go right up to Starbucks every morning. Eliminate your lattes for a week or 2 or 3 or 4. Trust me, that'll be enough money for you to get a will done. Don't buy your pair of, I don't know, people wear Manolo Blahniks, they're expensive.
Yeah. They can leave a pair of Jordans on the table. That's $200-$300.
Don't eat out for a month, and I bet you have enough money to get a will done. It's relatively inexpensive, and it's well worth it because it gives your family a roadmap on what needs to be done when you pass away. So that's one of the major things that you need to have.
Or they say, when I write a will, I'm going to die.
Yes,
right
some
after
people
that.
say, oh,
somebody
if I write
gonna
a
kill
will.
me after that because
that's actually what
I don't want to
said.
have a will.
Somebody said that. One of the reasons they don't have one, if I create a will, I might die. You're going to die.
That's
Everybody's going to die.
That's,
you just don't know when. So
right.
You want to be prepared.
Right.
Another reason they don't have it. Oh, my family members will do what I need them to do.
Wrong.
Don't count on that, people. I've seen too many broken family relationships destroyed because of something somebody did at a funeral, or because somebody didn't get something that they thought they were supposed to get. So, and let me just say one thing. GoFundMe is not an estate plan. I hate GoFundMe. I tell people that all the time. Don't depend on GoFundMe to bury your relatives or to bury yourself, because GoFundMe is not an estate plan. You don't want to be...
That's not your insurance policy.
Right. And speaking of insurance, get life insurance. So one of the commercials they used to have out a long time ago, life insurance is not for the people who die, it's for the people who live. It is. Because if you are losing somebody who's a major contributor to your household income, you need something to make that up. You don't need to worry about whether I'm going to be able to make my rent payment, my mortgage, my utilities. And life insurance will take care of that. So again, get as much as you can. Now, depends on what kind of policy you have. But you need to get enough so that you can handle some of your affairs for several months without worrying about where those bills are, how those bills are going to be paid. And if you decide, hey, I might have to take a leave of absence from my job, you want to be able to support yourself. Because again, if you've lost one of the primary incomes, or even just an additional income in your house when somebody dies, you need something to make that up. So those are things. I'm not a life insurance agent, so I'm not going to get into how much you should get and what kind, but call a life insurance agent. They'll be glad to discuss those things with you. So I always tell people, if somebody's going to die, if you're going to be sad, you don't have to be broke and sad too. You need to have some money. You need to have something so you don't have to worry about, or your lights going to get cut off next month. So life insurance, get it, please. Get as much as you can, because that's going to hold you over until you get yourself back together. Because you're going to need some time to recoup from what's going on, and you don't want to worry about money. So let's talk
about what you did in 2013 after Thomas passed away. You took some time off.
Yeah, I had just started my own law practice the year before, so I wasn't going into the office. I didn't really take time off because I had staff and I still have staff. So I had staff who could fill in the gap for me while I wasn't there, but I was still in constant contact. But I didn't have to worry about, am I going to be able to make payroll? I don't have to worry about that. Mm-hmm. And so I didn't really take time off, but I took some mental time off. Mm-hmm. I took some mental time off to kind of recover, because at the time our son was 8. Mm-hmm. So he's 18 now. Right. So he's outside helping my mom pull out these Christmas decorations. So I took some time off. When people offered to help me, I accepted their offer, When they say, hey, you want me to go pick you up something to eat? Yeah. You want me to babysit your son? Yes. I said yes. So I made it a habit of saying yes, because a lot of the times our natural reaction is to say no. But I made it yeah, I'm fine. But I wasn't fine. I needed some help. So, and my mom was not here. My mom lives in Charleston, so she wasn't where I could just go drop my son off. And we're not living in those times. Unfortunately, where grandma and aunties and all of that live in the same town, and you always have somebody there. I'm not in that situation. I'm like the only person from my immediate family in the city where I live. So I didn't have to take time off. I did lean on family and friends to help. I did go talk to a therapist to help me work through some of those issues. And so therapy is good, guys. Go see a therapist if you need to unwrap some stuff. I know that's not things that we often talk about, but go sit on the couch and talk to somebody. It'll help you out.
So let's go back to like the old people say, getting your affairs in order.
Right.
If you have let me ask, if you have an elderly parent, 60 plus, 70 plus, 80 plus, in this day and age, they say, not even this day and age, that what they always would say is, you're an adult once and a child twice. So when they become that child stage again in their elderly age, they need help making decisions. Talk a little bit about power of attorney,
right.
Estates, things of that nature, on what certain things that need to be done, especially if where they're not able to have all of their faculties going on, some type of health care, in-home health care. Talk a little bit about those types of documents that need to be in place, and somebody being, designated, because I know for sure you're our designated person. You were designated for both mama and daddy. Daddy's gone, mama's still here. So, you are that point person. Talk about somebody being that point person.
So one of the things I always say, the four major components of a comprehensive estate plan is a will, a power of attorney, a healthcare power of attorney, and life insurance. So
is there a difference?
Yeah, well, there is a difference. Okay. So wills I've already spoken about. The will is the document that tells people what happens after you die. Okay. It also names guardians, beneficiaries, that kind of thing, and a personal representative, somebody who makes sure your wishes are carried out. A power of attorney is another document that somebody can use while you're alive to make decisions for you. For example, if you are unable to make a decision because, for whatever, somebody's deemed that you are incompetent, or that you're away.
Like you said, you're going to send daddy to
don't say that. Don't say that. Don't say that.
It's a joke.
No, don't say that.
It's a joke. Okay,
if, say for example, so let me go to the power. So say for instance, you go out of town. So you got a lot of military people who might be deployed. You want to leave somebody back where you are at home who can make financial decisions for you, like who can, change. Go to your bank and do whatever you need them to do. I just can't think of, but you need
make deposits.
Make anything. Make a payment for you on an account. Take out a loan on your behalf if somebody in your family needs it. That kind of thing. So those are financial decisions that somebody might have to do on your behalf if you are not here, because you're out of the country somewhere and you need somebody to make a decision fast and you can't get back in time to do it. Or something else that's that you need to get done and you can't, because not necessarily because you're incapacitated, you might not be here. Again, you might be out of the country and you can't get it done. So you want to make sure that document is done ahead of time, not when you're over there. Do it and leave it with the person. And when you get back, it could be a temporary power of attorney. And once you get back, the person doesn't have that power anymore. There's also a document that we do for healthcare. So if you, if you go in the hospital, usually the hospitals will ask you, do you have a living will or a healthcare power of attorney? Okay. A lot of people don't, but that's a document that the hospitals use to determine what they need to do if you can't make the decision. So the important thing is that you have to be unable to make the decision. So your agent, who you're giving that healthcare power of attorney to, can't overrule something that you're saying about your own health. That agent only comes into play if you are unable to make your healthcare decisions, like you go into a coma, you can't talk, you can't speak, and they need to make a decision about what to do next. So that agent has the ability to do that. Now, that's a document. Everybody should have that because, I probably don't know one person who's never been in a hospital. Everybody I know has been in a hospital for something at least once. And so you want to have that document in order. And somebody said, well, but what if, my next of kin? Well, the hospital doesn't really want to determine who your next of kin is. If they have to, they will. But consider an instance where you have somebody who's married. That person would be their next of kin, but they have parents who are still alive, and their parents disagree with what the spouse wants to do. Now, on at face value, that might seem like that's easy.
Meaning the parents.
The parents of the person are still alive,
but your spouse
wants to do something different. Correct.
So how does that what
so
kind of
let me tell you that's going to bring a clash because at first glance, yes, the spouse is the person who gets to make the decision. But if you have parents who are adamant about something, they can take you to court and nothing can happen until the court decides.
Like a do not resuscitate.
They can do or
actually pulling a plug or something like that.
Correct. There have been cases like that. They can actually take somebody to court and to say, hey, we know our daughter wouldn't have wanted that. And ultimately, if the person doesn't have a healthcare power of attorney, most likely the spouse's wishes are going to control. But you got to get through the court system to get to that, though. And so that could take years. There's a case down in Florida back in the probably 20, 30 years ago where it took 10 years for a court to decide that the spouse's yes, and that woman was on life support
for 10
in a persistent vegetative state for all that time. So who wants to go in the hospital and visit their family members like that and be living through that? So it's always best. Don't leave it up to people doing what you think is the right thing to do, because that's not always going to work.
So saying in your will, I want to be cremated.
Oh yeah, you need to you can put
specify
those things.
how you want
and
to.
If you care how they handle your remains,
or having a do not resuscitate order
and your healthcare power
and your healthcare power for saying,
that's
listen, if
not
I
gonna be in the will,
flatline, that's done.
Because by the time
you're dead.
By the time you get a will, a do not resuscitate doesn't even matter.
But if it's a living will,
if it's a healthcare power of attorney is a living will.
I'm sorry,
that's the same. It's the same document.
Okay.
They use it interchangeably.
Okay.
And so that is a document that you use to make your healthcare decisions.
And what's the fourth thing you said you had?
Life insurance.
Life insurance.
General power of attorney, healthcare power of attorney, wills, and life insurance.
Okay.
And so again, I'm not a life insurance agent, but some of the things that people want to, and some of the scenarios I always bring up in my seminars. So, if you are, this is a little to the side. I'm gonna step to the side and just say it's a secondary topic, but it's very important. If you are married to somebody?
Wait, we about to go into that.
Okay.
We gonna go into that.
Okay.
We gonna go into that. We about to go into that.
And do whatever
No. We about to go into that. So you already did the formal legalities and mama and daddy married and all that good stuff. But I'm gonna tell you what, mama and daddy sometimes don't last.
That's correct.
And mama and daddy separate, and daddy get a girlfriend, mama get remarried, or mama get a boyfriend and daddy out here doing his thing, driving his Cadillac, whatever, and they never get divorced.
Correct.
But they separated.
Correct.
What happens in those scenarios? Side chick stuff.
Okay, so
Let's talk about it.
side chicks don't get anything. So
Say it
now,
again.
if you're still married and you've been, let's say for instance, if you've been separated from your spouse, and I guarantee you, somebody listening to this podcast, everybody knows somebody who's been separated from their spouse for a real long time.
Word, I
And
know
not
a few.
divorced. Separated for 20
Separated,
years
but
doesn't
not
mean-
divorced,
doesn't
baby.
mean divorced. So if you've been separated from somebody for years and you die, that person still can get a part of your estate because they're still your spouse. And now the fact that you've been separated from them for a long time, you probably don't want them to get any of your estate. But guess what? Under the law, they're entitled to a portion of your estate.
So let me ask you this before you say it. Have you come, and I know attorney-client privileges and stuff like that, but can you give us a scenario of that situation where the husband was with somebody else,
Yeah.
separated from the wife, something happened to him, either he died or
Sure.
he got incapacitated.
Sure.
What happens in those situations?
So situation, two people married. They've been married. They've been separated. The husband goes and gets a girlfriend after he's separated from his wife. He and the girlfriend buy a house. The girlfriend puts 20% down on the house. They live in the house. The house is just in the husband's name, but he's still married to somebody else. And so
And the
he
girlfriend
dies.
lives there.
He dies. The girlfriend lives with him. Remember, she put 20% down. So in her mind, she probably thinks she's entitled to something because she put 20% down. But again, her name's not on the deed. Only the man's name is. Man is still married. Man dies without a will, and he's still married to his wife. So his wife is going to be entitled to that house.
So she gets nothing.
She gets nothing. She gets nothing.
So the wife can say
She gets nothing.
the wife can go to the funeral and
Wife and girlfriend can
deal.
go to the
Yeah,
funeral.
but I'm saying she's at the funeral
Girlfriend
dealing with
not getting
everything.
anything up.
The girlfriend says, "Oh, this is my house."
No.
No.
It's the husband's house. And if the husband doesn't have any will or didn't make any provision for her to be a part owner of that house, she gets nothing. So I always say, it don't mean a thing if you ain't got that ring. So people can say what they want, but if you're still married, I don't care how long you've been separated.
So that
you're still
ex-spouse, separated spouse,
The
can come and
separated-
tell
absolutely.
the girlfriend, "You got 30 days to get out this house. Be gone."
Absolutely. Special friend doesn't get anything because that's all she is. And we know that. We know people listed as a special friend.
And the obituary
an
at the funeral program.
You can,
Special
doesn't matter.
friend.
Special friend.
Can the special friend sit with the family?
That depends on the family. I don't have anything to do with that.
I mean, I just
I don't
want to
have
know. I
anything to
mean,
do with
because
that.
isn't
But that's-
several special friends? Can
You got-
special friends sit with the family?
You know, you might look. I don't have anything to do with that. All I know is that the wife, whether she attends that funeral or not, she's gonna get that estate because her husband is still her husband, and that's property that he owned in his name.
So
And
can the
so-
side chick rebut anything
She
because she
can.
put the 20% down?
She can, but unless there was some kind of agreement that clearly indicates that he owed her money for a down payment, or they had an agreement that she would get that back, I don't really know that there's anything she can do except be mad and post it on Facebook. That's it.
Post it on Facebook saying, "That's but
That's
took
it.
my shit."
That's about it. That's about all she can do, but she's still not gonna get that money. Same thing with life insurance. Some people married, they got their spouses' names on the life insurance policy. They got a girlfriend. The life insurance people don't care who you're married to. Just so you know, they only care whose name is on that policy.
So you got the if
so
you still
if
got the
you-
ex-wife still on the policy,
If you got that,
and you got
the
another
safe thing to do is just put you want the policy to be to your wife. Then to me it's interchangeable because you don't have anybody's name. It's just who you're married to.
so you can
But
write
if you
on
can-
there "my wife."
I think you need to talk to a life insurance agent about that. I don't want to tell you wrong, but I think there's some provisions that they've
Okay.
made that would say if you say you leave into your wife or to
Yeah.
your spouse,
Right.
it's going to be the person that you're married to. So if you
Right.
subsequently divorce somebody and you get remarried,
Right.
it's going to go to that person that's your wife. But if you got somebody's name on there and you forget to change the policy out, that
That's
person
going
whose
to
name
them.
is on there.
So it could be an ex-wife of
Could
over
be.
10 years. You
If
forget
you
about the
forgot-
policy.
if you don't
she's
change-
going to get that money.
Now, like I said, unless the
Oh, he's gonna
insurance
get that money.
guidelines have changed, they're going to give it to the named person on the policy.
Mm-hmm.
They don't care whether that person is your spouse or not.
Mm-hmm.
Because you don't have to leave your life insurance to your spouse. You can leave it to your sister, you can leave it to your brother, you can leave it to your kids. They're going to give it to the person who's named on the policy as the beneficiary.
So
that's another thing. When you divorce, that's a reason to go back and change your will, or when you get divorced, when you get married, when you have kids, when your beneficiaries die, or one or more of your that's the time to go back in and change your will. So to update.
So I
for those
definitely need to
conditions.
change my will because I got daddy in my
Yes,
will.
you definitely need to change.
Yeah.
And if you got some alternate beneficiaries, it'll go to. The
I mean, I have
alternates.
alternates, but I mean, he's still
Well,
named
but
in
that's
there,
okay.
So.
If the alternates are still alive, you safe. But,
Right.
That's one of the reasons I always tell people to go back and look and see if you need to change.
So my question, like for me, I'm single, of course, not married, because I'm single. No children. For my assets and things like that, I just have a basic will of beneficiary, who gets the house, who gets the car, pay out whatever bills, etc. Should at some point I have a child, I have a child, I'll update it and I'll give everything to the child, but I can keep additional beneficiaries in that will.
I recommend you have more than one beneficiary.
Okay.
Always. Because again, something might happen to your first beneficiary. If you don't have a secondary, then it's going to be one of those things.
Or maybe the beneficiary is young.
And that's another question. If a beneficiary is young and they're still underage when somebody dies, you'd have to have a conservator appointed to hold that asset for the beneficiary.
What's a conservator?
Okay, so a conservator is a person who holds the asset that the person leaves for that individual, for that minor, until they turn 18. I was my son's conservator through the probate court. So when his dad died, his dad left him some money. He was 8. So I actually had to, file to be his conservator. So I was granted his conservatorship over his estate, and his estate would be whatever his dad left him. So when he turned 18, he just turned 18, I was removed as conservator because he's 18.
So now he owns that account.
He has that asset, right. So, but you got to go to probate court to do that.
So y'all went to court?
Yes. We had to go to probate court to do that. That's not something that just happens with a change over on paper. You actually have to have the probate court appoint you to conservator, and if you need to do anything, for example, with the money, you have to get permission. It's a restricted account. You have to get permission from the probate court to use any of that money on behalf of the minor child.
Okay.
I'm fortunate I never had to ask any permission to use the money.
Right.
So, but it's his to, do what he wants to do at this point.
Okay. So let's try to segue into something else of legal things. Baby daddy and baby mamas.
What you want to know about that?
I mean, custody.
Okay, so
what?
That's a lot.
I know that's a lot. I'm rapping a lot, but let's
rapping a
just
lot.
kind of talk on. I know you deal with workers' comp,
Right.
family stuff,
I do
and things
family
like
law
that,
as well.
mediations and things like that. When
Right.
it comes to, because I know we were having a conversation yesterday or whatever about. If we were watching
Kids.
we were talking about kids. We were watching the Bernie Mac show. You have a 15-year-old. You as a dad left the child, and the family is taking care of them, and now the baby daddy or baby mama got their shit in order. Now they want to take the kid.
Okay, so biological parents have superior rights than anybody else. So that means if you have a kid with somebody and that person died, let's say the mom dies, you have a baby with her, mom dies. Grandparents might have been raising the child for years and years and years. But father has superior rights, and so father can come in and get custody. And 9 times out of 10, because you have to prove that the dad is unfit for him to not get. Now, sometimes you might be able to prove that. But a majority of the time in my practice, I find that people are just upset because 1, they just had a loved one die. 2, they don't feel that the living parent was actively involved in the child's life. And 3, they're just used to having the kids with them, so they don't want to let the kid go and be raised by their biological parent. That's not going to be enough in family court to give somebody custody. You actually have to prove that the biological parent is unfit. And again, 9 times out of 10, people are not going to be able to prove that. They just want to keep the children with them for a variety of reasons. They don't want to let go. But 9 times out of 10, a family court is going to award the biological parent with custody if the other parent is deceased.
Okay.
And again, that would only happen. It would only happen otherwise if the surviving parent is unfit.
So we have to look at the different state laws and things like that, and to see what happens.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So let's go on a lighter note. When did you know you wanted to be an attorney?
Probably middle school.
Middle school. Why?
I don't know. I just think I didn't have any noble reason to be an attorney. I just figured it would be a good way to make a living.
Get that money.
Good way to make a living.
So tell us a little bit about your journey
noble profession, good way to make a living. When I was growing up, attorneys were very well respected. Not always so much so now, but well respected. Great profession. Could make a good living. So I didn't have people say, "Oh, I want to be an attorney." To speak for those who are less fortunate, I didn't have really any of those noble reasons.
You just wanted to make a good living.
I just wanted to make a good living in a career that was well respected. I figured, I was confident enough to talk in front of people. I wasn't not really a shy person, so I figured you really couldn't be a shy lawyer. So I just figured it would be a good profession. We had a few attorneys in our family. They appear to be doing pretty well. So I figured, hey,
why not?
I could get with that, yes. Absolutely.
So after high school, Burke High School,
yes.
Charlotte, South Carolina.
That's right. Went to Johnson C. Smith and Charlotte, and then I went to the Ohio State University.
Tell me a little bit about that.
Columbus. I mean, not really much to tell. I didn't really like law school, but that's what I had to do. It was what I had to do.
You went to the Ohio State.
I didn't really like law school. I didn't like what they call the Socratic teaching method. Didn't really like it. I don't know. I just didn't really like the experience, but it's what I had to do to get where I needed to go.
Yeah.
The school itself, I don't have a problem with the school itself. I just think I would not have liked the law school experience no matter where I went, because I just didn't like.
The things you had to go through.
I didn't like the intensity of it. It was very intense. Sometimes when you reading cases, it takes you about, it takes you about 10 minutes to realize it's English. That's the case law as English and not some foreign language, just because of the way some of the cases were written long time ago. And so I just didn't like law school. I knew it was what I had to do if I wanted to be a lawyer, though. So I don't regret it. I made some lifelong friends in law school, still to this day. Some people I went to law school with, still very good friends with them.
So after you graduated from Ohio State, what'd you do after that?
I went to North Carolina and I clerked for a federal judge. His name was Richard C. Irwin. He was also a graduate of Johnson C. Smith University. He was an African-American judge, and I must say, I do not think that I would have gotten that job if I did not attend Johnson C. Smith University.
And HBCU.
I think that's right. I think it's the connection with his having attended Johnson C. Smith and my having attended Johnson C. Smith that got me that job. Now, I subsequently realized that probably was the case, because when I went there and I got hired, I remember the law clerk who was there said, hey, Judge Irwin said in his entire time on the federal bench, no one from Johnson C. Smith ever applied to be a clerk with him.
Really?
He went to Johnson C. Smith for undergrad. He went to Howard University for law school. He said nobody from Howard ever applied to be his law clerk either. So when you came across his desk,
he had to.
He said, now when I interviewed with him, he said he didn't know that he had a position, because he was already at senior status, meaning he could walk away any day. Okay. He could just go away.
Like he had tenure.
They call it senior status.
Senior status. Okay.
And so he was already on a lighter caseload because he was winding down. And so he could walk away at any time and say, hey, I'm fully retired now, I'm done. But when he saw that I applied, he decided to stay, because he was getting ready to wrap it up. And so, but he wanted to give somebody from Johnson C. Smith an opportunity to be his law clerk, and I'm forever grateful for him for that. He died several years ago, but I'm forever grateful for him for allowing me that opportunity. That was a wonderful experience. Wouldn't trade it for the world. Wonderful experience. Judge Richard C. Irwin, Winston-Salem, North Carolina. I was his clerk for almost 2 years before I moved back to South Carolina.
And through that, you met some other wonderful people. Great connections.
Oh, absolutely.
And then after Judge Irwin, what'd you do?
I went to South
because
Carolina.
You started
work for state government and county government, and then
what was that like?
It's government. I mean, it's government. You got a lot of red tape. A lot of red tape. Still very fulfilling work, but And then I was general counsel for a couple different state agencies at different times, and then I went into private practice with a small firm for a short period of time, and then I opened my own practice 10 years ago. So that's probably been one of the best decisions I made, opening my own practice. And so I really can't complain about that. You got to take the good with the bad when you have your own business. Sometimes you feast, sometimes you famine. You just have to deal with it. Sometimes you just have to deal with it. And so, but for the most part, I don't regret the decision to start my own practice.
So what is Dilligard Edwards LLC doing for the community, or what have they done for the community, or what would you like to continue to do for the community or start doing for the community?
Well, one of the things I do consistently is I give free seminars on wills, healthcare powers of attorney, general powers of attorney. I do that regularly. I do it mostly via Zoom now. During the pandemic, started doing it.
You did it at Family Reunion too.
Doing Zoom, but that was in person.
Yeah.
And so I used to do it in person. I used to travel to do those in-person seminars, but now with the popularity of Zoom, I don't even have to do it in person anymore. I can, send out a Zoom link, ask if people are interested. They sign up. I send them a Zoom link. They show up. I go through my presentation. They ask questions. It's usually great. I've always gotten great feedback. One of the things I learned from my last seminar I did for a group from South Carolina State is this one participant. She used the term "clock in." And I thought that was hilarious. And so when she said before you clock in, that means before you die. And I told her I was going to start. No. She said, well, before he clock in. I said, do you mean clock in like die?
I thought check out.
No.
I thought check out.
She said clock in, and I thought that was hilarious. So I started saying that. Before you clock in, make sure you have a will. So, but I do those seminars pretty regularly. I also still, as part of my practice, I still do some free consultations, usually 30-minute consultations, just to let people know what procedurally what to expect when they go to court. I do that pretty regularly. I used to do this thing when I first started called 30-minute Thursdays, where you could call and get a 30-minute consultation on a variety of subjects that I practice, of course, because if I don't know anything about it, I can't tell you nothing about it. And I haven't started yet. It might be on the horizon, might not be. But I was going to start doing this thing called Pro Bono Saturday. Where
what's that mean?
Was either Pro Bono Friday or Pro Bono Saturday, where you come in and, if you have a legal issue, I'll help you work through it for free. But that's not going to be anything that's going to happen regularly. It probably
maybe
would
once a quarter.
Correct. Pro Bono
all day Saturday from like 8 to 2,
you can just show
something
up.
like that.
Correct. You can just show up. I can help you with your legal matter. And we'll be done. I haven't done it yet just because I need to carve out time to do that.
Correct.
Correct. That's been on my menu of things to do since I started, but I haven't done that yet.
Okay.
I also do mediations for free through this center called Midlands Mediation Center in Columbia. And so I do free mediations. I also do private mediations where you pay me to do mediations, but through this group I do free mediations. Yes. Okay. And so that's some of the ways that I give back, because I find that mediation is less adversarial and the parties actually get to decide what happens. You participate in the outcome of your case, as opposed to if you go before a judge, the judge is just going to decide what they're going to decide.
Right.
And so mediation often yields a better result than having a trial on an issue before a judge. So those are some of the things that I give back, and the things I do that the law firm does.
And you did a scholarship too.
Oh yeah.
Right?
I did two. That was probably last year or the year before. I did 2 scholarships to students attending Johnson C. Smith University. And that was, I think I did that twice, because I did a book. I bought
book voucher.
I did a book voucher too, for students attending Johnson C. Smith. I haven't done anything in 2022, but I'm sure I'll be doing something soon, maybe next year.
Okay.
So
kind of circling back, you've had the life of HBCU and PWI. Give me 3 different. Give me three different instances. Because they don't have fried chicken Sundays like the HBCUs and the CAF.
Okay.
But Tell me your
So,
three differences
let
of
me tell
going to
you-
HBCU and
Let me tell you what
PWI.
let me tell you what I'll say about going to an HBCU. At an HBCU, my experience at an HBCU is that the professors were invested in your success. They knew my name. A lot of them knew where I was from. When they saw me walking on campus, they could call me by name and talk to me. If we had a issue with a lesson or something like that, we could say, "Hey, can you explain this to me?" We could actually have one-on-one time. We can go into that professor's office and say, "Hey, I need you to explain something to me. I don't understand." At a PWI, no. Now, I'm not saying that the experience wasn't invaluable at a PWI, but a lot of my professors, and let me say this, law school is probably a little different. Now, if I had a problem with a law school assignment, you don't necessarily have access to the professors like you do in undergrad. That was different. You know, I mean, I might get stung for saying this, but I don't really know that they're that invested in your success. They're there to teach you the law, and that's it,
And get you out of
by
there.
then, you're whatever you learn, because that's why they call it the practice of law. When you get out there and practice, that's when you're gonna learn all of the practicalities of the law. It's different. At an HBCU, what I'll say is, I always tell people, take a minute to soak in the magnitude of the situation that you're in. You're in a situation where it's probably going to be the first or the only time that you're going to be the majority of anything, because most of the students there are black. You have white students too. Most of the professors there are black. You have white professors too. But you're in an environment that will probably never be duplicated
That's
again
culturally for
anywhere
you.
else, because you're the majority on campus. And being at an HBCU, the fact that you're an African American at an HBCU, that factor really, that's not something that we really focused on when we're there. We're focusing on learning it, but it's the atmosphere that's different. In my opinion, it's the atmosphere that's different, because people there, they're preparing you not only for the academic rigors that you have to go through when you're finished, when you're there, if you decide to go to grad school, but they're also showing you life lessons too. Oftentimes we'll have professors talk to us about real world stuff, like, look, I know they might not tell you this when you get out into the world, but this is what's going to happen when you get out into the world. You got to be prepared for that. Yes, you got to be prepared for that. What happened?
We got to get out because we smell gas.
Man, and we back. First ever interruption because we thought we smelled gas, but the episode is fire at this point.
Not us. We didn't think.
Oh,
We smelled.
well, we
Somebody else
didn't,
in
but
the
somebody else did. You know, we on location with a homeowner, so what you gotta say. But we're back. We're gonna pick up where HBCU PWI is benefits, different things like that.
I think I'm just wrapped that up again. You know, the faculty and staff were invested in my success. They wanted me to do well. They knew me by name. They knew where I was from. They wanted me to succeed. You know, at an HBCU, that was an environment that, to me, it promotes success, because, again, everyone is invested in your success. That's the only time, I think, in my life where I've ever been the majority in any group. The majority on campus are African Americans. And again, it gives you that confidence to do well when you leave there. You don't always get that at PWIs. I didn't go to PWI for undergrad. I went for law school. But from some of my friends who are at PWIs, they don't even know they're professors. Some of them, depends on how large a PWI is.
Because they're a number.
No.
Maybe.
You have teachers' assistants who teach
TAs
in the
that,
classes.
yeah.
So they oftentimes don't get an opportunity
To meet the professor?
To be with the professor and meet the professor. So that's one big difference. I'm glad I didn't have that experience. And so those are some benefits. And, you know, you make connections also. You make connections at historically black colleges and universities that are lifelong connections. And again, like I said, I don't think I would have ended up clerking for Judge Irwin if he had not also attended Johnson C. Smith University. I think that's one of the things that got me into that space that he was there, and he wanted to be able to give an opportunity to somebody who attended his HBCU. So those are some of the benefits. I don't regret my experience at all. I actually cherish my HBCU experience because there's nothing like an HBCU, nothing like an HBCU homecoming, nothing like keeping up with your HBCU classmates.
Nothing like a good homecoming.
Right. So, I got all
or
of
graduation reunion time.
Right. I got all of that.
Or walking in the airport, you got on your HBCU, you see somebody from another HBCU or your same HBCU, you see somebody, oh, that's family right there. What's up? How you doing? We see each other. It's all good.
Right.
But if somebody else clown us, we got a problem. We got a problem.
Right.
Don't clown me if you hadn't been in the HBCU. But it's always good when you walk into a grocery store or a airport, or even go to a different country. When I went to Cabo in April, I saw someone from A&T, and I was just like, "What's up?" They were like, "What's up?" So it's that closeness of being in just the HBCU culture. PWIs, I'm pretty sure they probably say the same thing, but they may be like, "Yo, dude," and keep on going. But who knows? But it's all about all of that. But it's just good camaraderie. So I want to thank you for being on the show today. Go ahead and shout out your handles again if anybody wants to reach out to you, where you're licensed, things like that.
Okay, so I'm on Facebook, Dilligard Edwards LLC. I am on that's my business page. My individual page is Latanya Dilligard Edwards on Facebook. My Instagram is Dilligard Edwards. Again, I got a Twitter handle. I just don't remember what it is because I don't use it. And again, it might not even be relevant after another few weeks. But
where you located?
My law firm is in Columbia, South Carolina. You can go to my my webpage also, DilligardEdwards.com. Feel free to reach out to me. Again, I do seminars on a variety of things. Wills is the main thing that I do seminars, but I'm open to doing seminars on other things as well. So reach out to me if you need some legal advice, if you need an attorney to handle some of your legal matters. I'm happy to assist. So
we appreciate Attorney Latanya for coming on, and I thank you for listening, my Two-Piece Podcast followers. As we wrap up the year, have those conversations with your family members. It may not be a comfortable conversation. It may need to be an updated conversation, but the conversation needs to be had just to make sure you have your affairs in order. So thank you for tuning in today, joining me on this journey, and thank you to my guests. My big sister, very proud of her. She's done really great things and weathered through a lot of storms and just continuing to do what she needs to do. So, as I always say, my good peoples, we're going to put the shades on, put the cup up. Where we going next? Two-Piece Podcast. We out.